Welcome and hope you're doing well. We're gonna discuss the multicultural life story of Felix Dexter with 5 character traits and reveal those highs and lows about this great British comedian. Hopefully it will inspire or even motivate you, as we only judge a person by their character, not race, colour or religion. So please click on the subscribe button below to join our multicultural family if you are new. My name is Bobby A. Said. I am the founder of The Emma Show. As you can see from these articles, Felix is still very much missed by many. Let's hear from Felix Dexter, who I've known for many years as a dear friend. Here is a clip of me and him on my talk show in 2004, where he had explained how he had started in the comedy world. Around. His television career started off in The Real McCoy in the early 90s. More recently, he has been in the hit comedy series Ad Fab as Julius Wilder's boyfriend. Felix, thank you for coming onto the show. Really a great pleasure, even though I've known you for so many years.
My pleasure, Bobby.
Really talented and fantastically known actor stroke comedian. How do you get into the industry in the first place? Because it's not easy, is it?
How did I get into it, or how does one in general?
How did you start? What made you decide to become a comedian and then obviously go on to become an actor?
It's a very strange story in that I started off with a legal career in mind. I've got a law degree, I did bar finals, I was going down that route, totally different to anything I'm doing now. And it was in between when I failed my bar and when I was going to retake it. I was doing stand-up just as a kind of a hobby, and I've always been into stand-up anyway, the Richard Pryor's and Bill Cosby's and all these people. I mean, I've got loads and loads of tapes I've always had since my teenage years of stand-up comedy. And supposedly, friends would say to me, "Oh, you should be a comedian, you know, you're so funny, man, blah, blah, blah." So it was in a year when I had done my bar and failed the bar and was going to retake it, I started doing like stand-up a lot more frequently. This is going back now to about 87. I started doing stand-up a lot more frequently than just as like a one-off. And then I had the first gig I can remember doing was like the most horrible, embarrassing, terrible experience of all time, in that I went to do an open spot, a 5-minute open spot, because the open spot hadn't turned up. And the audience just started talking after about a minute of me being on stage. There's this room full of people, just started talking, completely ignoring me. It was a horrible experience, but the promoter saw enough in me to suggest that I go away and write some material and come back and do a paid spot. And then it just kind of developed the momentum from there. I just thought, my God, I'm being paid money to just stand up here and say whatever I want. This is totally unreal.
He knew Emma's multicultural values within the media industry to help build our multicultural society. Here is a clip of Felix hosting our Emma show alongside co-host Mina Anwar.
We should also really say a thank you to Bobby Ayub Saeed, whose brainchild the Emma Awards is, so thank you to Bobby as well. That brings us to the end of the 1999 Ethnic Multicultural Media Award.
I have to state, he was a really great friend who had even refused to attend a rival awards show that tried to copy our format, as it's hard enough for any minority to get anything off the ground against the big media corporations. Here he is, once again, winning his Emmas with great comedy timing, as shown.
Well, thank you very much. I'd like to say, first of all, thank you to the Grosvenor House Hotel for letting this many black people into the hotel without calling the police. I'd also like to thank my father for not using a condom. I'd like to thank my mum for not having a headache. But seriously, I'd like to thank the director of the Prince of Dalston, Christiana Eberhard, for getting a good performance out of me. Respect. Parminder Ver. And of course, Nick Simmons, the head of comedy at Carlton. But really, listen, folks, this awards is a really magnificent event, because we always didn't get awards in the past. As you know, Bo Diddley didn't get the benefit, the Stones did. Little Richard didn't get the benefit, Elvis did. The Jacksons didn't get the benefit. Michael Jackson, hang on. You know what I'm saying. Respect, thank you.
Number 1, passionate. Felix Dexter was born on the 26th of July, 1961 in St. Kitts in the Caribbean, then a British colony. His mother is Doreen Dexter, and he grew up living in a respectable neighbourhood in St. Kitts alongside his father. He is the only child, hence his close relationship with both his parents throughout his life. Around that time, the Caribbean islands were finding their feet after de-colonisation of the country. That led to a period of social and political unrest. Understandably, the Windrush Generation of the 1940s had already settled in Britain and were slowly starting to build a successful community in the United Kingdom to help rebuild Britain, a country that was torn apart from the Second World War. Felix and his family moved to the UK when he was 7 years old. His mother had gone on to comment on her son's knack for comedy since his childhood, and his admiration for impressionist actors of the time that included the likes of Jerry Lewis and Dick Van Dyke. Upon his arrival in the UK, he had found himself living in Surrey, in the southeast of the country. The area had recently undergone industrial development, and so the employment rate during the 60s were reasonably high. However, people coming from the Commonwealth were still experiencing racism in the housing market and in everyday life. For Felix, the introduction to the new life was less dramatic, as he had already had family in the UK. Working in law and politics, he went on to study English and business, and later on was admitted to University College London, better known as UCL. That is part of University of London, where he graduated in law. He maintained a social interest in comedy by attending many comedy clubs. But soon after graduation, he began training as a barrister. Number 2, resilient. The mid-80s saw the growth of comedy clubs around the country thanks to the popularity of establishments like Tunnel Vision and Battersea Art Centre. Felix grew fond of the London comedy scene, and he would spend his free time attending comedy clubs to practice his art through his unique comedy act. He began attending local stand-ups like the Comedy Store, where often hosted alternative comedy acts that tapped into politics subject matter. One eventful evening, the Comedy Store owner Don Ward gave Felix the opportunity to perform at his club. He blew the crowd away by not shying away from his Caribbean descent and the stereotypes that come with it. Soon after, his charm mixed with his sharp satire had started making him a sought-after comedy act. So he started performing at different stand-up venues, although met with applause from critics and alternative comedy fans. Sadly, general audience were not yet comfortable with his presence, often in all those white venues, as this largely catered for white comedians to maintain their own humour with a certain amount of racism. That was the norm in certain circles. That didn't help towards creating a cohesive multicultural British society. However, the alternative comedy circuit was slowly starting to support those black and Asian comedians, with venues such as the Hackney Empire, hosted mainly ethnic minority talent that served their community. Felix started performing there in the late 80s and got increasingly more visibility with his unique style and, above all, comedy talent. By the early 90s, the ethnic comedy circuit was a growing reality in Britain. Even the BBC took notice. Then in 1991, they launched their TV sketch show, The Real McCoy, which became an instant success. The show was an important milestone for ethnic minority comics, as they were finally given a mainstream media platform to tell their own funny stories. In 1993, before the start of season 3, producer Charlie Hanson offered Felix a stint on the show. His comedic style gained him wide critical and public acclaim. Felix was commended as an Afro-Caribbean comedian, poking fun at any cultural background, and challenging the audience's own stereotype notions. This showed ethnic minorities had a great sense of humour in his unconventional way that started to break down those social racial barriers within Britain. Number 3, hard working. In 1984, Felix was a rising comic star, and he also began writing for The Real McCoy. His cameo appearance in other shows like A Bit of Fry and Laurie and Knowing Me and Knowing You with Alan Partridge. This contributed to making his characters a staple on British television diet that helped build a multicultural Britain. When The Real McCoy ended in 1996, Felix was picked up by the BBC for regular appearances on the iconic shows such as Have I Got News for You and The Fast Show. The Fast Show enabled him to employ more of his character-based comedy style and helped break Felix into mainstream entertainment to an audience of over 7 million monthly viewers. To this day, his most memorable work is focused around his original characters, developed in years of sketches like Nathaniel, the accountancy student from Lagos.
Can you please get your hands off me? I'm just trying to find something. Thank you. Thank you. I've just lost my briefcase. I'm asking you a question. Has anyone seen my briefcase? You see, I'm going to a party. I don't really need the briefcase. But I'm keeping it with me in case the party gets boring. Then I can go through some of my examination papers. You know? But I'm glad you're laughing, because can I just say something to you? I must say, I'm really enjoying you here this evening. You know, because all of you West Indians gathered here together. No, it's nice to see that you are behaving yourself instead of causing trouble and being a nuisance to the authorities.
And posh lawyer Douglas.
When I heard about your program, I thought, absolutely marvellous idea, it really was. I thought, yes, I really want to be involved in that. You know, I like the idea. Racism in Britain today, wonderful, wonderful, absolutely lovely. But it is, yes, of course, it's a really big problem, enormous problem. Big, enormous, tremendously big problem, yes. But I'm not really sure if it does to beef about it the whole time, you know. Yes, it is a big problem, but I myself have been the subject of this, social malaise is what it is. I was returning from a dinner engagement recently in my Saab 9000 2.3 SE. And I was apprehended by the police. Now, not to mince one's words, they were of the impression that someone of my hue acquired such a vehicle without some sort of skullduggery. Absolutely preposterous assumption, I'm sure you'll agree.
Just to name a couple of those famous characters on British television. His groundbreaking comedy as a British minority had inspired the next generation of ethnic minority comedians, as he had created a comedic style that is universal and relatable, appealing to diverse audiences no matter their race and culture. This especially is an achievement, as there were very few outlets for ethnic minority talent to grow in the media industry as a whole, with many white executives who were misguided to deprive British minorities of its talent from their diverse community to reflect a British community that reflected a British multicultural community at large. Number 4, authentic. Felix's prolific career also included roles in film, TV and theatre, demonstrating his talent as an actor. In 2000, he played the small but memorable role of a policeman in the comedy film Room to Rent, alongside international casts which included Juliette Lewis and Syed Tagmai. The same year, he starred in the established British soap Casualty. In 2001, he was approached by ITV to play a recurring role in BAFTA award-winning show The Bill. In 2002, he made his theatre debut with the Royal Shakespeare Company production of The Winter's Tale. And in 2004, he worked once again with the company for the critically acclaimed production of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, alongside Hollywood star Christian Slater in the West End. The following year, Felix proved once more his versatility as an actor, playing Maximus in ancient Rome. Inspired TV series Empire, starring alongside Emily Blunt and Vincent Regan. After a number of successes on the screen, 2006 saw Felix going back to his comedy roots. He formed the radio show Down the Line alongside some of his old friends in the days of stand-up and The Real McCoy. The talk show soon began to garner a cult following, with Felix visiting some of the famous characters and inventing some new ones, enabling him to touch on social and political topics. The idea was picked up by BBC Two, which started airing Bellamy's People in 2010, starring Felix Dexter alongside Rice Thomas, Charlie Gigson and Paul Whitehouse. The comedy show continued following the characters introduced on the radio show and was met with similar niche followings. Number 5. Humility and empathy. However, around this time, his close friends and relatives started to notice his deteriorating health. In mid-2013, he announced to his closest people and friends about his multiple myeloma. Myeloma is a type of bone marrow cancer and is the 16th most common cancer in males in the UK. Felix Dexter passed away on the 18th of October 2013 at the Royal London Hospital at only 52 years old. I had attended his memorial gathering days after his death in East London with friends from the media industry who had just wanted to remember a good friend with an unbelievable talent for entertainment. Britain had just lost a great comedian, turned actor and pioneering artist who is a humanitarian, who contributed to making Britain's comedy much more inclusive and diverse. He was a great champion of the Emma Initiative, as he understood the need for a more egalitarian approach as promoted by Emma within the media industry, and still harbored some form of racism. Felix lived a life away from the glitz and the glam of the entertainment industry, as he was extremely down to earth. And his choice was to keep his work and personal life extremely separate. He really partook in any formal interviews, and public appearances ranged few and far between, often attending other comedy clubs and venues like the Edinburgh Fringe. Felix was an avid supporter of Arsenal Football Club and was a private family man outside of his time on stage. He was ultimately dedicated to his craft, knowing that it would be taken away at any time, as some minorities were often set up to fail in comparison to their white counterparts who were supported. However, Felix Dexter has left an invaluable legacy, whether many realize it or not, in today's multicultural environment. As one of the earliest alternative black comedians, he was a huge inspiration to many black actors and comics, and continues to influence and inspire performers regardless of their ethnicity. In 2014, the Felix Dexter Foundation was set up by his long-time creative partners and close friends in the industry. With this fundraising event, the non-profit organization helps children from an underprivileged background in the UK and St. Kitts and Nevis by offering bursaries, scholarships and opportunities in the creative field. The foundation has gone on to host stand-up concerts and fundraisers in helping to promote the importance of bone marrow and blood donation amongst the Afro-Caribbean communities in this country. In summary, Felix was one of the first black comedians who broke through the glass ceiling that limited ethnic minorities from progressing throughout the media industry at the time, as the stand-up comedy circuit was very much white dominated then. But he didn't let that obstacle stop him from pursuing his comedy dreams. Would really appreciate a like or even a subscribe, and if possible, please donate on Patreon, however little the amount, to support this channel's ongoing mission to undertake those multicultural campaigns. And remember, it's what's inside that counts, a motto we have used at the Emmas. As Felix has proven, friendship never ends, as we both had a lot in common to promote equality by defining a better multicultural world. So until next time, thank you for watching and keep it multicultural.